Sara Nicole Graham was born on April 1st, 1996. Sara was described as the type of person who was shy until you got to know her, but really nice, responsible, and hardworking. She lived in Temple, Texas with her mother up until she graduated high school. Then she relocated to Fairmont, North Carolina to live with her father and stepmother. Her dad and stepmother were both in the law enforcement and had been for many years. There's not much to be known about her relationship with her parents. Sara had only been living in Fairmont for 2 months, but was said to have been very happy with her life in North Carolina and was making new friends. On February 4th, 2015, Sara left her home on Centerville Church Road at around 6:30 a.m. to head to her job at Walmart. The Walmart Sara worked at was located in Pembroke, North Carolina, and it was about 16 minutes away from Sara's home. Sara's shift began at 7 a.m., but she never arrived to work and has never been seen again. When her father found out she didn't make it to work at 7, he reported her missing. At around 12:15 p.m. that same day, a suspicious vehicle was reported in a field on East McDonald. The white van was abandoned and locked and was the family van Sara had driven to work. Witnesses reported the van being there as early as 6:45 a.m., although police wasn't notified until 6 hours later. There was no sign of struggle in or around the van, but what was strange was that the van was locked, which meant someone had to have locked the door with the key. Apparently, this type of vehicle did not lock without a key. A search party was initiated by the Fairmont police, but there was no sign of Sara. As I mentioned earlier, Sara's dad and stepmother both worked for the Fairmont Police Department. Sara's father position then was a police sergeant, and her stepmother Connie was a deputy. Shortly after Sara's disappearance, Connie was fired due to personal issues as the reason, after working there for 23 years. This led many to think that Sara's father and stepmother had something to do with her disappearance. Sara's dad denied this rumor in a recent interview on the anniversary of her disappearance. Sara was described as a very dependable, responsible person, so FBI had no reason to think she left on her own accord. There is a theory that her stepbrother was in love with her, she rejected him, he unalived her, and that Connie helped clean it all up. All of this is alleged as well. Unfortunately, like many cases I share, there's not a lot of information available, and Sara's case still remains unsolved.
The Robeson County Sheriff's deputy when she disappeared, and now Graham is the Roland police chief. He says the FBI called him a few years ago with a question about Sara when skeletal remains were found.
They asked me the question. They said, didn't Sara have braces? I said, yeah, because apparently this is one time they found skeletal remains in St. Paul's or something. They found a skull. I said, yeah, she had braces, and that was the whole conversation. I never got a call back that says, no, that wasn't her or anything like that.
The remains didn't turn out to be Sara's. The FBI released a video Friday saying someone close to Sara knows something but isn't telling everything they know.
People's out there making the rumors and making the suggestions that, you know, me and my wife may have something, know something or have something to do with this and everything. Well, I'm here to tell you that is as far from the truth as you can ever get.
You said you don't believe that Sara is dead. You believe that Sara is where Sara wants to be and just doesn't want to maybe tell you all. And you said as a seasoned law enforcement officer, detective for many years, you found no evidence to prove otherwise.
You're correct. In my eyes, I ain't seen nothing to say that there was any wrongdoing. But I've got no other reason to believe that she isn't alive. There's nobody who proved or showed to me anything other than she's missing.
Graham also told me that there was no blood in Sara's van or any sign of a struggle. Now, an FBI spokesperson says they're not treating Graham like he's a person of interest. They just don't have any information right now to update him. They also say that they're not leaving him out of the investigation. Live in Fairmont, Tanya Brown, ABC 15 News.
Tamika Prick then disappeared on the summer night of May 12, 2001 in Grange, North Carolina. Tamika was 16 at the time and described as your typical teenager in the early 2000s who spent a lot of time drawing. She was last seen around 10 p.m. that night by her mother, Cassandra Best. Cassandra was expecting a visit from her boyfriend, Eric Moore, at the time to break things off with him. Eric was supposed to arrive at 10:15, but just a few minutes before his arrival, she dozed off. When Cassandra woke up around midnight, she realized Timeka was not in their home, and she also wasn't sure if Eric had stopped by or not. When Cassandra noticed that the shoes that Timeka was wearing that night and her purse was still in the home, she immediately panicked and reported Timeka missing. Throughout the investigation, it was discovered that Timeka was on the phone with a friend before she vanished. The friend told investigators that the phone call ended when Timeka heard a knock at the door. Timeka was classified as a runaway, and detectives initially thought she traveled to Goldsboro, North Carolina, But that was later determined not to be the case. After time passed, police began to suspect that Timeka was forced out of her home by someone she let inside. There was no sign of struggle or forced entry. Investigators started to turn their attention to Cassandra's boyfriend, Eric Moore, which is when Cassandra learned that Eric had several previous convictions and charges, including kidnapping and a SEX crime. Cassandra was blown away by all of this new information on Eric. However, Eric has not been charged with Tamika's case. Police have not said if Eric is a suspect in Tamika's case or not. In 2006, Eric was convicted and sentenced to 9 years in prison for an unrelated SEX crime that occurred 2 years after Tamika's disappearance. He was released in 2015 and now currently lives in Greenville, North Carolina. Tamika's mother and brother have tried very hard to keep Tamika's name alive by reaching out to CNN and Nancy Grace. Tamika's brother creates music and hopes to reach someone to find out what happened to his sister. Tamika's case still remains unsolved.